Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Lost Cities with Albert Lynn, The Great Flood. This is actually kind of like an episode of his series Lost Cities, but apparently they've broken out a few of the season 2 stuff into separate, like, mini documentary movies. This is only 44 minutes long, just like most of the episodes. It's from 2021, so maybe because 2021, 2020, and everything else kind of spread everything out for a lot of things being produced for television for whatever reason. I wonder what that was. Maybe they decided to make these into specials as compared to something that came out every week or so. I don't know. It's from National Geographic, but Albert Lynn, we've done episodes with him on his shows before. In his series, he usually looks at ancient civilizations, obviously lost cities, looking at things out of mythology that could have real world origins, and odds are most things that come out of mythology are based in real things. And in this case, of course, the Great Flood, which many people know as a biblical Christian biblical tale of Noah's Ark and everything else, and the destruction of the world with a flood, and Noah and his family are the only ones who survive, along with two of every animal. That is just one version of the story. That kind of story has been told all over the world, and for many thousands of years earlier than the, well, I shouldn't say Christian version. I should say the Torah. I should say the original Jewish version, because it's in the Book of Genesis. So it's story of the origins of the all people on Earth, but primarily it's a Jewish story. So yeah, especially as we get into Exodus and stuff. So, but yeah, take it however you believe it. Whether you believe in these things as a Jew or as a Christian or not at all as an atheist. There are lots of fantastic stories, and the Bible is full of them that have to come from somewhere. And yeah, Christianity and Judaism, the people all have over thousands of years have experienced the same thing as other people of other religions and other cultures, and the flood is kind of a universal story. And it's we see it in Australia, we see it in South America, you see it over in Asia, you see it all over Europe even, and just different ways of telling the tale, and each of those cultures attribute it to different reasons. The gods are angry. Obviously, in ancient times, it was always the gods who are pissed off when the rains come. And while this episode spends 44 minutes with Albert exploring the origins of what many of us, well, I keep saying many of us, I grew up in the Christian church. I know the Bible story pretty well. So when I say many of us, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm talking from the, the white Christian male perspective here. So yeah, it's the kind of thing where that's where I know the story from. I don't know all these other stories. When we look at the flood, the Great Flood, well, we look at the Middle East and like Eastern Europe. Well, Albert took himself to the Black Sea, which is for many people considered one of the places of the origin of the story, because the Black Sea, which is a huge body of water, according to him, larger than California, that currently. That takes up a tremendous amount of space between Turkey and Russia and Ukraine and also all those areas, that area in there. It used to be a lake, and suddenly, very quickly, at one point, it got big. And I can see how some people who might have lived in that area might have thought, you know what? Everything in the world has been destroyed, because you don't go from a lake to a sea in such a short period of time, or as the Bible puts it, 40 days and 40 nights, without considerable loss of life and damage and everything else. Robert Albert doesn't bother going into doing any kind of uh, comparison of the biblical story to reality or anything else. He's not here to do any kind of biblical scholarly work. He's honestly just looking at the story of the flood, its origins, and where there could be evidence that such a thing may have happened on a global scale, or if it was just regional. In fact, it takes him all the way to Peru, where he takes just outside of Lima, I think a place called Chan Chan, where there's this ancient story about how the gods were very angry, and for some reason, and they sent a humongous flood that sent people inland. They were rescued by a magical llama, and they all went up to the mountains. And this was not Incas. This is not the Incan territory. It's a separate area. And it was an El Nino. It was a great storm. And these things are common, actually, in that part of the world. It's so much so that there's common words that they use today that have origins that are thousands of years old. And how do these connect? I mean, these are stories. I'm not really clear on why he thought they connected, but it was all about displacing an entire civilization based on a great flood on the other side of the world. Were they connected? Were they the same thing? Were the Andes Mountains completely submerged? Were all the mountains around the Black Sea completely submerged? No, probably not. But this is still a story that is pervasive through all cultures, and it's whether it's meant as a cautionary tale about nature and dealing with gods or God and or whatever you get out of it, that's great. But there's definitely through his exploration in this, and I'm not going to give it all away, obviously, but through his exploration in this, he finds a lot of terrifying things about each of these cultures. That the fact that, again, for many years, it was just the theory whether or not that there was civilizations that existed in the areas around the Black Sea or the Black Lake at its time that were completely just wiped off the map once that body of water expanded due to glaciers melting and things like that after the Ice Age. They go diving, or at least they send drills down and cameras and everything else to see if they could find evidence of a civilization. And in Peru, they discover something a whole lot more devastating. Some beautiful, just massive ruins in this one area that showed a mass grave of children, and these people were so desperate to stop the floods that were devastating their world that they don't know if it happened within a day or over many weeks or months, but they sacrificed possibly hundreds of children from the age of 10 to 14 or so, according to their examinations of the skeletons and everything else, in order to appease the gods, in hopes that the rains would stop and the death would end. So, killing kids obviously is the solution. But hey, the ancient world is full of superstitions and fears and things they did not understand. Thankfully, we understand things now perfectly, right? There's not an ark in Kansas or wherever. Anyway, this is just another one of his episodes. Yeah, it touches on mythology, touches on religion and things like that, but it's not the main focus of it. It's mainly him getting really dramatic with some very dramatic music when he gets told certain things, and he's got a good game face, just like, oh, whoa, like he can't believe what he's seeing and hearing. So he's it's a little bit over dramatic for me. It's a National Geographic documentary series, but come on. But yeah, it's still interesting. I think I would have like to get something a little bit more definitive out of it, but I think it's meant for you to ask the questions yourself, maybe dig into it yourself, maybe do a little exploration yourself. There's information out there that isn't lies, so that isn't made up, and you can find out more on the internet. Let's pick tomorrow's episode for the internet.
13.
13. Lucky 13. What do we got for 13? Oh, well. Huh. Okay. We are getting a Disney live-action remake of a classic Disney animated film, 13. You can pretty much imagine how early in the alphabet we are. Can you guess which live-action one this is? It's not the Bees yet. We're not doing Beauty and the Beast yet. Which, again, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that updated one with Emma Watson. I have not seen that either. But I also have not seen Aladdin from 2019. That's with Will Smith as a genie. So, yeah. Finally going to watch that. 2019, I wasn't hunting down live-action remakes of Disney classics, so what am I going to do? So that's what we're seeing. The 2019 live-action remake of Aladdin on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye.